Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. Every week for almost 20 years, I've been doing programs just like this to help entrepreneurs and business leaders really focus on their agenda, focus on doing the things and learning the techniques and tools they need to be better. That is my goal. As a coach, I'm interested in helping people improve their focus, improve their motivation, and improve their production, to make sure they've done everything they can to just be better at everything that they do. I know that we all deserve it. I know COVID-19 has been very, very difficult for many of us, and we haven't had the opportunities that we would normally have to really do our business the way we'd like to do our business. And there's been many challenges. As a small business commissioner for the County of Fairfax, I love encouraging and engaging and collaborating with entrepreneurs, creating an environment where they are not just safe to do what they're doing, but encouraged and enlightened about the different prospects and different abilities that they have. We're going to talk a lot today about something very, very special. Today we're talking about what to do when you have to give a powerful presentation. Now, by the way, there is no such thing as a presentation that you're going to want to give that's not going to have a lot of impact. That's not going to make make meaningful and bold statements. It's critically important that you learn the techniques, the communication techniques that have always been around, that are best for human beings, to remember what you're saying, that are best for them to engage with what you're saying, and to create an environment or an experience for them that is meaningful. As often said that, it's important for individuals to learn to do everything they can to contribute to our society and contribute to our world. And one of the ways we do that is by always having drama-filled presentation. That's what we're going to talk about today. How do you create a presentation that has lots of drama, things that make you exciting and interesting to hear from, things that make your people feel and show empathy for the characters that you may present. Whether you're doing a written presentation or oral presentation, you need to understand all the magic that drama can deliver to your presentation. Drama helps you develop style. It helps you develop passion. It helps you connect your audience to something that is meaningful and powerful and helps them feel what you're going to say. I'm going to tell you some stories. I'm going to give you some information about where drama comes from and how it was set up in the first place. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the theatrical side of drama, as well as the oral side, oral traditions, and the things that you need to learn to do. And hopefully we're going to have lots of good, engaging discussions. And I got a special guest for you today. Today, I'm going to be introducing a young lady that I just met recently. She's a powerful financial advisor here in the Northern Virginia area, and I know she's going to rock and roll with so much good, powerful stuff for everybody. And I'm looking forward to spending time with her and getting to know her a little bit better. But I invited her onto the show because I just was so impressed with her countenance and how she holds herself and some of the things she shares and some of the things she cares about. So I'm going to introduce Christy a little bit later. But if you have a chance, and in fact, I'm going to see if I can't do this for you right now. While she is on, she's sitting backstage right now. We're gonna do a little bit of not advertising, but I just want to share with you a little bit about who she is and where she's coming from. I know she's a financial advisor. She's working with Northwestern Financial Company, which obviously does tons of insurance and other financial products that are really, really good for entrepreneurs and business professionals. And I want to post Christy's LinkedIn profile right there in the chat. So if you have a chance to take a look at that and find out a little bit more about her, I think you're gonna be surprised at her background and how she comes into the financial planning industry. Very few people come from the financial planning industry, from the nonprofit industry, from the industry where, she's literally been responsible for helping people help people. As a director of advancement with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and with the American Red Cross, she's just spent her career, helping people and helping people understand how important it is to do the right things for themselves and for each other. And so she's now bringing that same kind of caring and that same kind of talent to the world of financial planning for entrepreneurs, specifically for women entrepreneurs. It's a passion of hers that we share that passion. Most of you know me that I'm an advocate for anything for small women-owned and minority-owned businesses, and I'm thinking that Christy and I are going to do a lot of good stuff in the future. So I'm looking forward to working with her. Okay, for some reason, Christy's profile came through on YouTube, okay, but it did not come through to Facebook like I wanted it to. So we're going to try it again. As you know, today we are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. And for those of you who are coming to us for the first time, I ask you to just make sure that you like anything that you see, share it with anybody you want to share it with. Today's topic is going to be exciting and interesting. And we're going to be taking a quick little commercial break, and then we're going to come back and get right into the 5 elements of perfect presentation and how you can use the 5 elements to grow all of your presentations, whether you have a 60-second presentation, a 5-minute presentation, a 10-minute presentation, or a 20-minute presentation. No matter how long you're speaking, it is important that you use the element of drama, and you do that through the wonderful active story. If you look on the page here, you're going to have there's a link there as well that you can use to download today's document, today's training. I hope that everybody has a chance to do that. And let me see if I can't give it to you one more time and find another way to present that for you. All right, we're going to do that. Look at that. Copy the link, post it in the thing. Okay, here is the direct link. You should be able to get that from the chat. So you should be able to see that and if you have any questions or anything, feel free to show up in the chat or let us know where you're coming from, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. Thank you so very much for coming out to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. If you haven't already, definitely liked us on YouTube or on Facebook. Join our Facebook community. There's lots of free posts of things tools and techniques that we try to use and share with everyone who comes to the program. Today is going to be a light day. We're going to go get deep into the topic. This is the 3rd installation of the 5 elements of perfect presentation. We started off talking about a general overview of why you want to have any type of presentation. You want to follow that 5 elements format. You want to make sure that you started off correctly and you follow that format in that very linear fashion, because in the linear fashion, you're going to find that the brain, the audience, and the brain of your audience is going to do exactly what you needed to do to stay in pace with you, to keep engaged with you, to make sure everything is happening the way it's going to happen, the way it should happen. And I'll just kind of quickly give you an overview before we get into today's topic. So we'll catch for those of you who want to catch up on parts 1 and 2, you can go back to the information, but I want to get you a little bit caught up today. Every presentation you have needs to have these 5 elements. First element is impact. Second element is drama. The third element is heroism. The 4th element is vision. And the 5th element of every presentation that you do needs to have recognition, and in this order. Now, there's a couple things that I want to share with you when it comes to this order. Why is this important? We find that when you deliver presentations correctly, your audience sort of takes a journey with you. And in that journey, they find out the information that they need to find out when they need to find that out. If you mix the order up of how you deliver this information, what you're going to find is that your audience is confused and they don't feel like they understand where you're coming from. And so you may want to start your presentation off with some kind of impact statement. An impact statement might be a benefit statement, a statement that says, here's what we're going to, that kind of gives them a hint of what you're going to be talking about and why it's important for them to know. So a benefit statement might be something that's beneficial to them. Right. So if I'm talking to a group of dentists, I would say What we're going to talk to you about today is so exciting for dentists. They're going to be able to explode their practices and do so much more. That's a good way to open up with an impact. So they know I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you about something that's going to help you do something. A good question to ask in an impact statement is, what is it this presentation is going to do for whom? What are the persons going to be able to have, be, or do as a result of hearing your presentation? Another way to introduce that same situation might be, dentist practice are going to explode from what we are going to teach you today in this presentation. Now, all of a sudden, what you have is the kind of attention that you need to have to get that. It has to have impact. The second thing you want to have in your presentation is drama. Drama is so important. It happens in your phrasing. It happens in how you use whatever tools you have available in the camera and the audience, whatever your hand gestures, everything is important to help you create a sense of drama. Also, it's important to understand what drama is all about, which we're going to get into today in detail. Next week, we're going to be talking about heroism. What kind of heroism should happen in any story that you tell, in any presentation that you give? How are you really, this is a way of syncing the drama in a way. How do you really get your audience to go from a high emotional impact to a low emotional impact and back to a high emotional impact? And how do you use that typical hero story to do that? And then next, you're going to talk about vision. Vision, in the instances that we talk about, is helping to create a possibility for a future scenario for your audience, so that your audience understand this is where it can go. This is where this idea, this concept, this strategy, this technique, whatever you're talking about, this is where it can go, and this is how it can work in the future. This is how they could use it. This is when the audience gets to answer that question. Well, what's in it for me? What are we doing for me? And then last but not least is recognition. This is where you show up, the storyteller, the person who is the producer, the director, whoever that is in the story. That's when you show up with all the facts and features and figures and your history and the things that make it useful for you to even be speaking at this moment. Sharing your information before you've done this 5 elements presentation, like telling us your name and name of your company before you've actually given us something that we want to hear about, that we want to talk to, is literally a waste of your time. It's wasting the 15 or 20 seconds it takes. You don't need to know my name. You don't need to know the name of my company until I've done something or shared something with you that's so meaningful, so powerful, so impactful that now you want to know, well, who is that guy? What is he all about? What credibility does he have to share with us? How long has he been in the industry? You want to answer those questions, and you want to recognize the storyteller yourself in this instance at the end. Think about every movie that you've ever seen. When do they roll the credits? They may give you a little impact, a little credit up front, like who's starring or what studio produced this. But other than that, you're going to get all the credits at the end. That's when you're going to know who put the music together, who did the lighting, who did it. Think about that. That's the natural way we've been used to being excited about something and then wanting to know who did it. Where did it come from? How do we get in contact with them? Who are these people? That's when that really matters, is after you've created the drama, you've created the situation that people are going to be able to get involved in. So I see Christy backstage there. Don't worry, Christy, we're going to bring you up in just a second. I'm going to go through some of the tips about how to create drama in a story. It's very important when you're doing the 5 elements presentation that you understand it's important to tell a story. If you're not telling a story, whenever you're presenting any information, you're missing so much. And the drama part of that story is really, really important. If you tell a story that has no drama, the story's flat. The story's not interesting. The story's not compelling. The story's not memorable. If you just rattle off a bunch of facts that may or may not be interesting to your audience, what you're basically doing is putting them to sleep, making sure that people are just simply not listening to you. And you want to avoid that at all costs. You want people to listen to you. You want them to connect to you. You want the stories to have impact. You want them to feel like they belong to something and something special is happening. And so I remember my days as a financial advisor, and I would always, in my whole goal when I worked with any client or any group of clients or I did any presentations, I wanted people to cry, because I realized if I could hit those emotional chords with them, it was going to be easier for them to make the decision once I showed them the rational information. So I want to go back to you a little bit about how that brain works again. You typically will immediately make an emotional decision upon you seeing or developing any new information that comes. The first thing you're going to think about it is emotionally. Is it safe? Does it make me happy? Is there joy involved with this? Is there sadness or fear involved with this? Our brains are naturally attuned for a couple things. And these are things that normally, if I was in a counseling session, I would tell you to avoid. But because they're teaching you how to do presentation, I'm going to tell you to run right to this. We typically want to do things to avoid guilt, fear, blame, and shame. When you're telling a story, I want you to try to hit as many of those buttons as possible. I want you to have a character that you've developed. And remember, that impact side was about developing character and making sure people understood and can feel for what the character might be. But when you start to tell the drama, when you sink the drama into a story, you want to have that character go through a range of emotions. If you can have them hit all of them, guilt, fear, blame, shame, all of them, then you want to have that character hit them. Because if there's no lows, when the solution or the hero comes in later on, there won't be any highs emotionally. And you want to take people on that emotional dichotomy. This is very, very important. For as long as human beings could remember, we have used drama-filled stories to help transfer tremendous information and even complicated data and strategy through storytelling. Storytelling has been the way we've done it, but we've used drama in the stories to really make people feel what's important and to create an experience. I'm going to come back to this over and over and over again. When you're talking, you want to create an experience. You want your listening audience to feel the pain associated with whatever it is that you do. Not that you're offering pain, but you're offering solutions to pain. You're offering solutions to fear. You're offering solutions to guilt. You're offering solutions to blame and offering solutions to shame. And if you can do that in storytelling, you can sell any intangible product or service that is out there. Let me give you an example based on what we know about financial planning. We know that if entrepreneurs don't prepare to leave their business, if they don't have a business succession plan, meaning an opportunity to get out of business, and that might be just through retirement, right? If you say that I'm leaving my business, I'm going to retire, and I'm not going to be doing the business anymore, there is a number that you have to hit in order to comfortably retire. And you need to know what that number is. What is your outgoing number? If you don't know your number, you'll never be able to retire. If you're in business for yourself and you are thinking about having that business be successful, you won't know that the business has been successful. No matter how hard you work, no matter how much anguish and how much toil and how much sacrifice you make for the benefit of this business, you won't have a rational way to be able to explain to anyone else what this is all about, where this is going for you, what is your outgoing number, what is your clause that's going to help you figure out what it is. And when somebody comes to help you, they're not going to be able to help you get to a specific, meaningful, powerful goal. Now, I know entrepreneurs who are in business for 20, 30 years, and they have no clue how they're going to get out of business. They have no clue what it's going to take for them to finish the race. Think about that. It's like running a race your entire life and not knowing where the end is. We're not even talking about a traumatic experience or something that might happen to you along the way. Just getting to a point where you've been doing something for 20, 30 years and you don't know how to stop, and you don't know how to get off, and you don't know when and where you're going to get off, or what instances might help you get off. Can you imagine how difficult that might be, as you might have made sacrifices from your family, you might have made sacrifices from your friends, you might have not been able to, you might have not taken vacations for years, you might not have done things that normal people get the chance to do all the time because you've been worried about this business and you don't even have a way out. That's how you create drama. You tell a story that people can feel, people can connect to, people can see themselves in, and ask themselves the question, do I have a way out? Do I know how to stop? And what is that going to look like? What is my end result going to be? What am I going to be able to have, do, feel, and be that's going to let me know that I'm finished? I'm going to let me know that I won. The race is over. When you can't have discussions like this with people as a financial advisor, I got to tell you, you suck as a financial advisor. You know, you have to have an idea of how you're going to help people reach a destiny that they feel comfortable reaching, because that's when you're going to set the goal. That's when you're going to say 5 years, 10 years out, we're going to have this much money in this portfolio, this much money in this insurance plan, this much, and then we're going to withdraw it in this way. We're going to be able to have all these different things come out. But if you don't have that goal in mind, if you don't have that understanding in mind, when people are needing to do the things they need to do, the actions that they have to take in order to make your plans work, they're not going to want to make them because they're not going to see that end result. They're not going to see what the benefit is for them. So as a person who is doing financial planning, you have to set that drama. Same thing as coaching. You know, in my world right now, I teach entrepreneurs how to be better. But what is better? I can't tell them what better is. They have to tell me. And I have to help them put together plans and strategies and techniques that are going to help them move in that direction. I'm going to help them maybe invite new people into their circle, or develop an advisory council, or create a strategy that's going to help them move forward. But we have to have some sense of destiny, some sense of goal. It's not good to have a business or anything and not know what you're trying to accomplish, not feel a sense of purpose, that in a way to understand when that purpose had been fulfilled. Because if you don't know when that purpose has been fulfilled, how do you get there? How do you get to a place where you don't know how to get? But most of us are lost when it comes to our vision. And that's something that people don't tend to have a good sense of. And it's very, very important that when you tell stories of processes about stories about what you do, that you help them create a vision, that you help them see a vision, even if it's not their vision. Maybe it's a vision of a character that you're talking about, but they'll be able to see themselves in that vision. That's what drama does. Drama allows people to connect. It allows people to feel. It allows people to remember. And more importantly, it allows people to express the idea that you have shared with them over and over and over again with somebody else. I know you may have heard the story of Jack and Jill, right? When you were a kid, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. This is the story, right? And it goes on. Up Jack got, and home did trot as fast as he could caper, went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. This is the story of Jack and Jill. I was told this story probably when I was 4 years old. Why do I remember it still today? Because I felt for Jack. I felt for Jill. I understood what it must have felt like, even at that age, to have this experience where you went to do one thing and all of a sudden there was a problem. Same thing with Humpty Dumpty. Same thing with Little Boy Blue. Same thing with every story, every children's story you've ever heard is always filled with that drama. And you remember those stories because of the pace that they were told to you, the rhythm they were told to you, the rhyme they were told to you in, but also the story. Every song, every blues song, every country music song has a sense of passion and power and drama. Drama is about helping you understand the dichotomy between what is and what could be in sometimes a dangerous situation. Now, it also works for positive things too, but not as well. Again, your brain is trained to recognize and deal with fear, guilt, blame, and shame more than anything else. So when you tell a story and you want to have drama in the story, you want to have your characters that you have in the story actually experience as many of those emotions as possible, because the confusion of it all, the power of it all, the passion of it all, the anguish and angst of it all is something that reminds us who we are as human beings. It reminds us that we deal with these dramas all day, every day. There is no escaping them. But the best of us have learned to act instead of being acted upon by the drama in our lives, to act upon it by doing the things that we need to do. Again, that's when the hero moment comes in. We're going to talk a little bit more about that next week. I want to read you a quick story, if I can find it in the training guide here. It's on page. Let me see if I can. Yes. This is Warren's story, and I'm going to read you Warren's story, but I want you to listen for the dramatic moments in the story. All right, and I want you to pay attention to the elevation of different aspects, and I'm going to stop before the hero is introduced, or certainly thereafter, but just going to go through the first elements with impact and drama. Warren's story. Warren was not just your average 4-year letter athlete. He was the kind of kid that showed tons of talent for innovation and leadership. With his grades and skills, he could have easily entered any college in the land, but Warren chose instead to join Eli and Sons training program for plumbers. Eli and Sons had been a long-standing business tradition in what was once the small town of Reston in Northern Virginia. Mr. Eli had sponsored most of Warren's sports teams, and as a young lad, had seemed to follow him throughout all of his life. Although Warren had a dad of his own, he always looked up to Mr. Eli. You see, Warren was always a tinkerer and loved to get his hands dirty. 20 years later, Warren found himself a master plumber in old man Eli's company. Long since retired, Mr. Eli left his 2 sons in charge, and neither of them had the technical expertise to run a crew or even connect a pipe. Warren found himself in a bit of a pickle when he realized after a church-led workshop that he and his wife Cindy, his high school girlfriend, had not saved anywhere near enough to send both their 2 boys, ages 11 and 13, to college. The ticket price was going to be overwhelming, and considering their current debt load, there was no way to make it happen and pay the mortgage on Warren's salary. Reluctantly, Warren was forced to approach the Eli brothers with a proposal. He needed desperately to become a partner in the business in order to improve his pay, or sadly, he would have to strike out on his own. The brothers saw an opportunity to stave off Warren as a competitor and to rope him into staying with the company without any significant benefit to Warren. They told him that if over the next 6 months he could raise the company's productivity amongst his crew by an impossible 200%, that they would make him a partner, and with the prerequisite bump in salary and benefits needed to fund his boy's education. Warren nervously agreed to give it a shot. He didn't have a clue how he was going to get this done, but he accepted the deal. Let's stop right there. We'll come back to this next week. Think about this story. What did you hear about Warren? Who is he? What is his character like? Do you like him? Do you hate him? What was his problem? What were his passions? What did he feel? That story can be told by anyone who wants to sell almost any product or service. There's always a person who has a problem In Warren's case, his problem was he needed to raise his level of productivity, and he needed to get his bosses to agree on creating a more financial lucrative opportunity for him inside the company. And he needed to figure that out. He needed to figure out how to make that happen, how to make that work. If not, he was not going to be able to educate his children. He was not going to be able to take his wife and make sure that she was financially secure in whatever endeavor she wanted to do. He would feel less of a man. So with that understanding of what drama is, and giving that example, I'm going to invite Christy in to talk to us and to share with us her ideas on some of the things that she might be thinking as a result of what we talked about today. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is Miss Christy Plunkett. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Coach Powell. Thanks for having me.
This is a lot of fun. Usually, it's crazy. I usually have a lot of guests, but today, for some reason, I think I posted this a little later than I should have, and a lot of people didn't get it. But that's okay. They can catch the recording later on, so it's no big deal. We can have a wonderful conversation. What do you think about what we talked about when it comes to drama?
Oh, I think it is so valuable to be reminded. I couldn't stop taking notes as you're talking, and you're absolutely right that telling stories and being able to put people in the position of feeling it, because you're less likely to do something unless it has an emotional impact to you. But oftentimes we are so in our own space that we are talking about what we need and not what they need. And the way you outlined the 5 steps is really valuable.
So I found that, when you're even doing a personal presentation, whether you have like 60 seconds, you can still tell a quick story if you follow those 5 elements.
Yep.
And in the back of the document that I share with everybody, there's actually some forms you can fill out to make it easy for yourself. And so here's a couple of tricks that whenever you want to tell a story and you want to time the story, write it out. First of all, write it out in what we call newsprint. In newsprint, you want to write something in all caps, Times Roman is the font, all caps, double spaced. 1 page of Times Roman, all caps, double spaced. 1 page is 1 minute of newsprint. That's how they used to do it back in the day, right? With Dan Rather and all the great old news guys, right? They would literally read the news. In order to time it correctly, they would write, they would just be at normal speaking pace instead of, rushing through. So therefore, they could write it out, first of all, get all the high points in they wanted to get in, get all of the strategy in there, and they wanted to get in and tell the story in a way that was engaging and exciting. And at the same time, they could keep to the time they had before the next commercial break. So if you think about any presentation you have to give, whether it's a 20-minute presentation or a 5-minute presentation or whatever, 60 seconds, which is a minute, right? You can just do it by writing it out ahead of time. Practice, 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 and then share the story. And you'll find that people, not only will they engage with you more in the story, they will feel what your character is feeling. They will feel, and they will be motivated to do something, especially if you do this, if you follow the right pace, in terms of the 5 elements, and lay them out the way I share them with you. What a lot of people don't do. A lot of people just rush right into, when they do a presentation, they rush right into, my name is Marvin Powell. I work with Coach Powell Training and Development. I've been doing this now for 20 years. I'm very passionate about blah, 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 blah. And it's all me, 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 me. And unless somebody you're talking to is connecting directly with that, you're losing the rest of the audience. Everybody else they're like, why are we talking? What are you talking about? Why are you even here? But if you hit them with a story, like if I would start our presentation with Warren's story, right? And people are like, why is he telling a story? But they get caught in the story. You know, like, oh wow, this happened to this guy. Oh, I can see how this could happen to, you know, somebody who's didn't choose to go to college, but they chose to start a business, and this is what happens sometimes. And wow, and they want to find out what happened next, or what, and it doesn't matter who I am just because I'm a storyteller. But later on, I could come back in and show how solutions that I may provide could help somebody like that. And you could, and a CPA could, a lawyer could, or any other service professional could find a way to help Warren. In fact, if I was in a room full of service professionals and I gave them that same story, everybody would come up with a different ending of how their product or service could help Warren.
Yeah, it's a reminder for me about how talking to people who are donating and their philanthropic interest, and you're telling them stories, and so they can connect, because many ways those of us that are in the sort of service industry in this way, we don't have a product. And when you're raising money from individuals for causes, it's all about whether or not they connect,
right?
And so that all of that reigns true.
And one of the things I think is more important, that I'm glad you're here today. One of the things that's important, I think, for our listening audience and any other service professionals who are out there, realize that if you have an intangible product, no matter what the product is, if it's a service, it's intangible. You don't take it home. You know, I mean, yeah, I could take a life insurance policy home, but is that what I really have? Do I have a policy, or do I have a service? I really have a service. Because even if I lose the paper policy, I still have the service available to me as long as I'm doing my part, right? And so I think that people don't understand sometimes that, you know, it's important to take these service processes and make them as connected to people as possible. Because, you know, I remember when I first got my first life insurance policy, you know, I slept with that thing. You know, because first of all, it represented more money than I'd ever seen or even conceived of in my life, right? But it also represented the possibility of my family's future to me, and it was so important. I kept it where I could, no matter where I moved, no matter what I did, I kept it right there, you know, and I kept paying that premium too, you know, until I transferred it to something else. But it was very, very, because the person who sold it to me was actually the manager I had. He told me, you got to buy a policy on yourself before you can sell one to someone else. And then he said, okay, now what are you worth? That was the question he asked me. What's your life worth? And it threw me away. It threw me for a curve, because I never sat and contemplated that if I make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year for the next 20 years, you know, how much of that, the question he makes me ask is, how much of that do I want to keep? And the answer was all of it. You know,
yeah,
as much as possible. You know, I don't want to. I know I got to pay some in taxes, and I know I'm gonna spend and eat some of it, and I'm gonna sleep away some of it, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, fine. But the reality is, I didn't want to lose any of it because I worked hard for it. And once I started telling myself the story that I was worth every dime of everything I ever earned, and if I could keep it, I would figure out how. And that's when it started to dawn on me how important it is to help people understand what their net worth is in today's dollars, but also in future dollars, and how to make it real to them by letting them understand, like, okay, think about it. Between now and 20 years from now, you're going to make XYZ dollars at a minimum. What could you do if you had those dollars right, you know, at that time? Let's project yourself forward and go, okay, now you tell me the story. You're 50, 55, and you're 60 years old, or you have $3-4 million in the bank. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do at that point that you can't do now? And now they started telling themselves a story.
Yes,
You
very
see,
much so.
and
Yes.
they start connecting to their future possibility. It's no longer grand, and it's becoming tangible now when they go, oh, I'll be able to give to charity, or I'll be able to create a legacy, or I'll be able to, and it's gonna, and I make them get into it. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Tell me day to day what you're going to be doing, and I put themselves in the story. This is what you're going to be saying. This is what you're going to be doing. These are the people you're going to be hanging around. These are the things you're going to be able to do that you can't do right now. And then they felt comfortable paying that premium for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
and calling me if for some reason something happened, right?
Yeah.
And they couldn't make that premium. So those things become important, I think, when you're trying to sell an intangible product or service. The dentist that tells you this is going to be painless, and then he wrecks your mouth, and it's not as anything. It's less than painless. So the story that they told you was a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You feel bad about it. There's lots of drama involved in that, but you're not coming back to that dentist.
Yep.
But the dentist said, you know what? This might be slightly uncomfortable, but I promise it's going to be worth it. And when it's all said and done, you're going to feel better about your smile. You're going to feel better about yourself, and you're going to learn how to take care of your teeth so they can last a lifetime. But if they tell you a story about somebody that they've helped, that would be even better, because you can see yourself in somebody else. But if they tell you stories about you, about them, it's not as easy to see. That's why it's got to be a third party character. It's got to be somebody that you can make it up the story and it's real, even if it's a made up character. And I think a lot of times professionals don't want to do that. They don't want to tell stories because they feel like, oh, if I haven't done it yet, then I can't talk about it. But right. That's not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hollywood people do it all the time. Commercials do it all the time. And as long as you say, listen, I'm just illustrating, I'm telling you this story to illustrate the power of what I do, so that you don't have to think that, and I'm changing the names and the characters or to protect the innocent, so to speak. So, and then you go out and you tell that story and people go, oh, wow. So that's what you do. Not only I found that people could share those stories to other people, and that's how you go viral.
That is what I was going to add to what you were saying, is how important the stories are, because that's what you remember. Someone sitting there, we have such a short period of time to get a message across to people these days with all of the internet and everything. I think you were talking about a 60-minute, 1 minute, opportunity to really get your message across. And that story is the thing. At the end of the day, they're going to walk away and go, oh, yeah, now she was talking about not being able to get a disability policy for a child that had an illness as a child, and then they won't be able to get life insurance as they're older. And because I told that story of that family going through that was the story I remembered, not exactly about the insurance, but the what am I going to do if my child is not able to get this coverage for themselves? So exactly. You're absolutely right. It's the empathy.
And you tell a story of a family who had a disabled child who was never going to be able to functionally take care of themselves, mm-hmm. and always have to be dependent on some system or some person. So what happens when the parents die?
Yeah.
What happens to that child who maybe just slightly autistic, right? Mm-hmm. Functional in every way, but just can't handle the basics of social interaction, and the cost associated with that. What's going to happen as they grow older, and if they isolate, what's going to happen? All those things, and you got to help them tell. You got to tell those stories.
Yep.
When people hear you talk, Christy, they just need to be rolling in the aisles, just dying, not of laughter, of just of anguish. Because if not, then the benefit of what you offer, they're not going to be able to wrap their minds around it. They're going to try to think of it as in financial terms, mm-hmm. and only in numerical terms, And that's not going to be enough to differentiate you from anybody else who says they do, financial advisor, planning, life insurance agent, whatever. I think that a lot of times we to try to become more rational in the financial industry, and stick with the regular dogma, we forget the gift that actually insurance is.
Yes, because it doesn't seem exciting, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I used to tell people all the time, I want you to imagine this. Imagine that you and a ton of people, hundreds of people, your exact same age, going through the exact same experiences in life all together. And all you all have decided that all of us are just going to contribute a little bit of money here and there, to this one organization, this one company, or this one pot of gold, so to speak. And if something happens to either one of us, then literally we're going to use this money to rescue one of us in any instance. That's what insurance is. It's literally people coming together, working together. We don't even know each other, but we're working together to stand up for each other in case the worst happens.
And we know it happens.
And we can tell you the numbers and the statistics, right?
Yeah.
This is why it's so much more important for females to get disability insurance than it is for males.
Yes.
I mean, they both need it,
mm-hmm.
but females need it like desperately.
We are more likely to be disabled during our working years than men.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And those are the stats. But who wants to hear boring statistics?
No, I don't.
Right? You and I might go, yes, that makes sense. Product knowledge and so on and so forth. But the rest of the world needs to understand that, if you're working in a group of females and there's 3 to 5 of you around, the likelihood that 1 or 2 of you are not going to be able to function in the long term is very high. And so let's make sure that we've done what we need to do to help each other get past those hurdles, because yes, you do have disability instances, but you bounce back too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you still outlive us men.
Yes, that's right. That's true. That's very
so
true.
You don't necessarily stay down, but you might go down for a little while. There's a high chance for that, but you get a high chance you're going to come back, and you're going to come back to productivity. Obviously, you got to take. You know what? I don't know if you guys do this. I've seen some companies now that are offering all kinds of health benefits associated with their life and disability insurance products. So they'll have the watches, the
yes,
those kinds of things that will help you even qualify for lower ratings.
Yes.
As you get healthier. Have you heard of those things before?
I initially no. Our company does not do that as of yet that I'm aware of, but I have seen that recently with a couple of other companies, almost like the devices that we're putting on cars now to see how far we drive. And then base your insurance based on, that. But to your point, yes, it's a motivating factor.
Right. Because if you can get a couple $100 off the premium,
absolutely.
And you want to be as healthy as possible. And of course, the insurance company wants you to be as healthy as possible. And what's good news is it's possible to be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a win-win.
It's never too late to start.
Yeah.
Those things you need to do to stay healthy and be healthy. So it's just an amazing time that we live in, an amazing opportunity for people like you to serve the community, and I'm looking forward to seeing great things. Tasha's in the audience. It's great to see you, Tasha. One of my mentors says, never make a point without telling a story, never tell a story without making a point. That's a great comment, Tasha. Thank you so much for that. And by the way, now we got a couple seconds. I got some more people in the listening audience. If you are in the listening audience, do me a favor and post in the chat where you're coming from and how you might have come upon the show. Maybe you met me somewhere or anything like that. I'm going to be doing a special presentation for Tasha just like this. This is what's going to look like, Tasha. You're going to be on the screen side by side with me on Monday morning at 10 a.m. And I don't know, have you met Tasha before, Christy?
I think just the other night.
She's amazing. She's an amazing speaker. She's an amazing coach as well. And she works more in the HR sector, helping corporations to really understand the cultural benefits of working with different cultures. And so, people who want to go global, you got to go with Tasha if you want to go global, because she's going to teach you how to have the right kinds of cultural sensitivities that don't turn into insecurities or problems later on. Because you don't want those problems. You want to make sure that as we grow, everything is going well. Erica Moore is in the house. Good to see you, Erica. Wow. So it's great. Erica is another financial advisor, and she's one of those that focuses on women as well. Erica, what is the name of that program, Wine and Women, that you guys? I can't remember the name of the program, but I love to hear it and share it with our listening audience if you're out there still. I was talking to Christy about that earlier. A lot of companies are doing stuff that are really, really good for women and helping them, kind of grow and understand that, yes, financial education is important. And I'm a man that believes in education, but I also believe in action. Because education without actual implementation is sort of like, it's a nice to have that you're smart, but are you smart if you don't do the things you should do? And so I'm more about education and motivation than I am about, just education for education's sake. I think sometimes we make the mistake of, we're in service professionals, that we want to have an educated client. No, I don't want to just have an educated client. I want an educated and motivated client. I want people who can take the information we have to share and then actually do something about it. You don't have to necessarily do it with me, but do something. Don't just sit there with that. Erica says they have not been helped if they take no action when the information they learn. That's true. That's very, very, very true. Yep. I agree with you in that regard, Erica. Do I have any questions about how to add drama to a story? Any thoughts about that? Anything out in the listening audience? Anything you want to share, Christy, about drama that we haven't already talked about?
Well, we could spend all day on that, but I think I feel like you've really added some really good points, that even if the drama that you are talking about is somebody, when you're talking to somebody on the phone and you're trying to set an appointment with someone, and just the way you sort of reverse the concept of, hi, I'm Christy, and this is what I do, and blah, blah, blah. There's a way to get people's attention in the way that you're setting the drama that I really like.
And I love a good open-ended question.
Yes, who doesn't?
That's always a great drama situation. I mean, just all you have to do is just throw a question out there. Have you ever really calculated what your life is worth?
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then you just shut up.
Yeah.
you just let's let it sit there, let it hang in that awkward silence, because that awkward silence is where it creates the drama and the tension. Yeah. The people go, oh, I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. What am I worth? Well, and they may ask you, well, why do you ask? And you can say, listen, I don't know about you, but I can't take it all with me, but I want to make sure that I have enough to be satisfied with what I've accomplished in my life. And I need to know that, if something happens and my grandkids can't go to school, grandpa can rescue them. If something happens to my daughter and she needs to come back home, there's always a place for her to come back to for whatever reasons. The husband doesn't get along, whatever doesn't happen, I need to be there. So that's important for me. But it may not be important to you. What's important to you? And then they start talking about, okay, for me, I want to see this and I want to have that. And I want to have, okay, great. And then once you know what that is, you can go, okay, well, how much is that going to cost you? What do you think? Have you ever done this before? Have you ever seen this before? What do you think the cost might be? And if you want some help calculating that, all those type of things are very important. I remember I had a client once that told me he wanted to retire and sail his boat. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get on a boat and just go around the bay area, Chesapeake Bay, and just be a boat guy. Wanted to get on a houseboat. I said, do you own a boat right now? He's like, no. I said, do you know what it costs to own a boat? No. Okay, so let's do some investigations about this, and then let's ask the question again, about, what it is you really, 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 really want. Because he didn't really do a good job of convincing me that he really wanted a boat, because he hadn't done any of the work that I would think that, it's like, I'm not going to even think about that as a part of your financial calculation, because it's not something that I'm sure you haven't really put your mind around it yet. Let's spend some time with that, and let's really go deep. And so I introduced him to a couple boat dealers, and introduced them to a couple people who own boats, and they talked about the cost, and he was like, okay, I still want to do the boat, but I don't want to own it.
Yeah.
Now I just want to rent it or something like that when I'm out, and I want to go out, and it's like that makes better sense. Let's have money to do that instead of trying to own it, because now you got to take care of it. You got to maintain it, and people don't understand the carrying costs sometimes of what they purchase.
I think about that with cars all the time.
I know you've seen it probably on the charity side. People bought stuff that they didn't really need and couldn't really use, and now they got to give it away, because if they try to sell it, then they got to pay capital gains tax or whatever that is, or they got to figure out how to do. They might as well just give it to charity and take a better tax. It'll be a better tax benefit for them.
Better benefit. Yeah, and Marvin, one of the things that you bring up that I think is a misnomer about putting together a financial plan is that when we talk to people, we are really digging into their lives and understanding where they come from, and trying to understand, like, what's their money story. Oftentimes, it's been developed when we were children. Mm-hmm. And we don't quite realize that. And to your point about the gentleman with the boat, I love that you went out and introduced him to a couple of people that own boats and a couple of other things, because most people would never imagine that their financial advisor would take that type of role. But oftentimes that is the relationship that is developed, if it's done right.
And I'll tell you, I got myself into those situations over and over and over again, and I met new people that I hadn't met before.
Yeah, I bet.
So think about this technique. You got somebody who wants to just go to the boat example, or they want to own a farm or an equestrian farm or something like that. Then you go, okay, who do we know who are the biggest equestrians in the area, and how do we introduce these people? And you call them up, and you're not calling about your product or service. You're calling about introducing them to someone who might want to come into their industry or their situation. Then you get to meet them, and they go, what kind of financial advisor are you?
Yeah. That it's not. I don't think that is necessarily everyone that you encounter in terms of financial industry. Mm-hmm. But ideally, that's the type of person that you want to be connected to.
And that's what I tell people all the time. It's like, you never know where your relationships are going to take you unless you ask. Yeah. Because in that same scenario, if I didn't know somebody who owned a boat dealer, and I couldn't necessarily find someone, I could go right to my network and go, listen, does anybody own a boat? Does anybody know anybody who sells boats or has a boat? And now all of a sudden, now I got another friend who's saying, yes, I want you to go meet my friends over at the docks, and they're going to do this, that, and that for you. Next thing you know, we are in a sort of a triumvirate type of relationship where, the boat guy's like, you know what, I like you. You should meet these people, who own the boats already.
Yeah, it's a very good way to think about how we can develop our network and leverage opportunities. Yeah,
and that's there's a technique I developed called the Golden Shepherd technique. Oh. And oftentimes in networking, we talk about the golden eggs, right? We want to have the premier clients, right? We want to have the cherry pick, the best clients, right? We want to have the best ones, and we know that the best clients come from the best golden eggs, come from the best golden geese. So wait a minute. So where are the neighborhoods and the pockets where all these people exist, right? That's the golden goose is the homeowners association, or the yacht association, or the country club, right? But now, if you think about it, all the geese, they have a shepherd.
Yeah.
Who's going to shepherd? Who's the person that is responsible for all of the people in that particular area? So if you were looking for like a golden shepherd of the CPAs, so to speak, right? You want the guy who is on the board of the American Association of CPAs. All right. You want or lady,
Yes.
you know, right now, what's even greater is like there's probably 2 or 3 ladies that just got introduced to this good old boys club.
Yeah.
And they want to make their mark. That's a person that you need to meet.
That's a great golden shepherd idea. I love that.
And then what do? They turn around and introduce you to all the other CPAs who would like to partner on major estate planning cases, or major business succession or business transition, mergers and acquisitions professionals, venture capital professionals. These are all people that could just point you in a direction of new opportunities that it would be impossible to do through marketing. Impossible.
Yeah.
It can only happen through relationships. And that's where, I know in my experience, I found the greatest amount of success is when I built the right relationships first. I decided what area I wanted to go in, and then I decided to build those relationships, and then everything came.
Yep.
As a result of the relationships.
No, that is very key. And then also maintaining those relationships.
Very important.
That's almost something it's easy to get away from. You have one conversation with someone and then you move on to the next because we're constantly moving. And so being able to have meaningful relationships with people and getting to know them for who they are and not just for what you could do for each other. Those make a difference.
Yeah. And it may start out to be a transaction, but it doesn't have to stay that way.
Or it could end up becoming a transaction to each of your benefits.
Right.
They might end up becoming clients and you might end up becoming clients of theirs as well.
That's the key to every collaboration I've ever been a part of. It is always really understanding what's underneath the potential for the relationship and being willing to have those deeper, more meaningful conversations about values and things that you're committed to, people that you're committed to. You start opening up those kinds of ideas to people, you're in it for life with them.
Yes. Yeah. It's true.
The minute they're vulnerable with each other, the minute they're connected. And that's something that, as a dude, I had to learn the hard way. This is not, about a transaction. This has to go deeper or we're done. And so trust happens when that vulnerability shows up.
Yes.
And not until then.
And it takes time.
Well, I think I'm gonna challenge you on this one.
Okay, good.
I think it takes the commitment to the effort to try. And the faster you're able to get to a level of authenticity with each other, the faster your relationship will move into high trust. And in fact, in business people, if it takes too much time, they give up.
Okay.
And so you want to make sure that you get there fast. And that means you got to move from small talk to big talk quickly. Because small talk, it's easy to talk about the weather, the football game, whatever local thing is happening in traffic. That's easy to talk about those types of things. Even family or, form method, right? The family, occupation, recreation, money, that stuff is kind of easy to talk about. But when you get to the substantive stuff, like purpose, meaning, where do you feel like your destiny is taking you? Where do you feel like, where will you be happy with leaving this earth with in terms of your contribution? Now you're getting the big talk. And, how much distance separates that you have in that talk is about how much you're committed to having it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pose back to you.
Go for it.
It is not challenging you, but I am curious as to how you found yourself turning those conversations, getting deeper with someone in those moments
So for me,
without
it all started with the
seeming
fact and
salesy. Yeah.
feeling questionnaire.
Okay.
So the fact finding questionnaire, right?
Yes.
When
Yes.
you're out there, every fact has a feeling associated with it. And I got good at asking questions about what this truly means to you to have this fact. And so just to not to bore the listening audience, there's only a couple people out there anyway. But think about it in the financial world, you're asking people to disclose a ton of financial facts to you.
Yeah.
So that you could put together the right kinds of presentations and opportunities for them. And so they chose to live at a house. The house has an address. How long have you lived here? Why did you choose this location? How did you get it? Did you get it through a realtor? Did you go through Zillow? What process did you use to get? Did you have? Because now I'm thinking, okay, there's a realtor involved. There's a mortgage professional involved. I'm bookmarking that, right? I'm just these people. What do you think about your realtor? That's I never heard from this knucklehead after the transaction, or yeah, we're best friends, we're good friends. Oh, really? Okay, I may want to meet them at some point in time. Would you mind introducing me? Sure, no problem. And so you're going into every aspect of the fact finding, you looking for the feeling behind it. You started this investment account. What was the purpose of starting this investment account? Oh, okay. And you want okay. So how's it going? Are you happy with the way the investments have been going? Are you happy with the process? What do you think about the advisor that helped you with the account? Oh, they're not. That was my cousin. He's not even in the business anymore. Really? Again, you're seeing how you're building information in the case, but you're also building trust, because the more people disclose, even about the facts in terms of their feelings, the more connected they are to the person who asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter, you can just start right there and say, you know what? And I used to always remember tell people, I'm going to ask you so many questions, it's going to make you dizzy. But I have to, in order to do a good job for you. You'll understand if at the end of the process. But definitely, if in any way you think that you want to know why are you asking me this question, I have a reason to ask you every question I'm going to ask you. Don't say, well, it's in the documents. The numbers are in the documents. So I don't care so much about the numbers as much as I care about why you established this kind of account or this kind of process, or why you did this. What were you hoping to get from it? And what do you hope to get from it now? Why are you keeping it? Or why are you asking me to analyze it? Or what is it that's causing you to even think about it at this point? Is it grief? Is it pain? Is it anguish? I want you to feel that. And I want to feel that. Because I'm going to work harder for you if I know that this is important to you. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, if it's even if it's a $20,000 account you got sitting around and nobody's ever touched it, nobody's ever done anything with it, and you can care less about it, I want to know that. Why don't you care about it? You got so many assets someplace else that this $20,000 doesn't matter to you? Tell me about this. You know what I'm saying? Get into the feelings associated with every fact that they present you, and you're going to build relationship faster than if you wait until after the great presentation or the closing, so to speak, because you're going to get so much more information out of the person than what's on the sheet.
Yeah.
My little fact finders will come back with so many sidebar notes and people that I needed to meet and all that kind of good stuff. I'm like, automatically, you work at the company. Oh, what? How's your boss? You like them? Do they like you? How long have you been working with them? If they leave this company, you going with them? And that now I'm finding out about their work relationships, right? I'm finding out about, how connected they are to the situation. And is there people there that I need to meet? Can I do a workplace luncheon for you?
Yeah.
And meet some of the colleagues that, you have to talk that have to deal with them. Would you mind showing some of the stuff that we're doing for you to them?
Yeah.
Not to disclose your own personal information. I won't give them any details, but I'll give them, sort of, large picture kind of thing. Would that be a problem for you? And they're like, oh no, I need you to tell Brad. I'm glad. In fact, I was trying to figure out how I could introduce you to Brad. But now that you're thinking about it, you probably could take us out to lunch and we could get together and blah, blah, blah.
And there you are.
And the business keeps going and the relationships keep growing and, opportunities keep happening. But you got to be willing to dig into the facts. There's facts and there's feelings behind every fact. Mm-hmm. There's people behind every feeling.
Yeah.
And so, if you're in the people business, you got to get good at digging that out and telling those stories and helping people connect those stories, the stories they're telling themselves, the stories you're telling them, and connect them in ways that, help them move themselves forward. Because people won't do it. They won't do it by just the facts alone. It's not enough information.
No,
I don't care how many pretty colorful charts and graphs we can create and all that kind of good stuff. It's nothing as connective as those stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know that from your nonprofit days.
I do. And even the financial side, but I appreciate you giving that example of how you have approached getting some of those information, from folks. Because you're right. It's very personal. And oftentimes that's what keeps people from wanting to dig deeper because there's a certain amount of fear that comes with sharing financial data with people.
I got this process, as crazy as it may sound, from the Army.
Okay.
There's a program that we learn if you're ever in any infantry training. You're going to learn what's called orienteering.
Okay.
And in orienteering, that's where they drop you off in the middle of a forest or a jungle or whatever, and they tell you have to get from here to there. Whatever the point is, you have to get to over the mountains, through the woods, or whatever, and you got to figure it out. So you have a map, a protractor, and some idea of where you may be. So the first thing you have to do is figure out, okay, where am I technically? Where am I specifically on this map? Am I 50 yards from the lake? Am I 100 yards from the mountains? Am I, where am I? Am I facing northeast, northwest? Where am I? So the orientation is very, very important. So the fact finder for me was getting oriented to the real truth of the client. Where is he right now? Where is he or she right now? Where is the company right now? And then, okay, so now we want to go to this place, goals, right? They want to get to where they want to go. Now I know where they are. Now I can plot a course to get them to where they want to be. And people could easily understand that example through that story that I just told you.
I was just thinking that. I was like, what a great story that you just told. And I'm like, I'm going to use my own version of that story to explain the value of having that conversation. I thought that was great.
Because if we don't understand where you are right now, and we don't understand where you're going, then, we can't help you.
Yeah.
We got to help you understand where you are right now. We have to understand where you want to go in order for us to adequately help you. And this is with any service professional, no matter what it is they do. Mm-hmm. You got to have an analysis of some type, right? You got to present a strategy of some type. But if the client is not convinced that your analysis and your strategy has truly their best interest in mind, and you haven't been able to do that and illustrate that to them, nothing matters. It doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. You can't prove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, especially, I love talking about our industry, right? Because one, I miss it. Number two, but I guess I told you earlier, I could do this with my eyes closed. So it's important that people understand how to really work with other people. And if you can't talk to them, really connect with them, tell them the stories, and it's not just about trickery, it's about real connection, authentic connection. Mm-hmm. If you can't do that, then what you do for people, I think, could be skewed in the wrong direction. And you don't want that. You want to, I tell people all the time, take what I teach you and use it for good. You could use it for manipulation, and move people in the wrong direction, but that would be wrong. I want you to use it and be influential and do positive things. And the more people that are doing positive things, that are happening, the happier my life is, because I'm participating in the forward flow of human history in a positive way. And I'm not, teaching people, but the subtle difference between influence and manipulation is intention.
Yeah, very much so.
Are you intending to help someone? Are you intending to help yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to do both. That's win-win. Love win-win.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's
But
reality.
you still have to be able to articulate it in a way that everybody can understand. This is the win-win solution. This is what's in it for you. This is what's in it for me. This is how we're going to walk together into a better future. If not, it's win-lose.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Nope. That was well said.
All right, we've been at this for a while, and usually right about now is time we cut this off, and all of our guests have gone bye-bye. And so, unless you have any questions, we're gonna cut it off and say that look forward to seeing what we can do together. I think there's a lot of opportunities there for both of us. This is been recorded, so you can always go back and watch it. It's right now at about 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's been great to meet you, Christy. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to continue collaborating with you and working in other ways. So I just really appreciate it.
All right. Remember, the time is now.
All right. Will
Talk
do.
to you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.